Is there a new presidential bromance brewing? It sure seemed that way today when the Philadelphia Eagles visited the White House to celebrate their big Super Bowl win.
Your superstar running back who I met yesterday, and I want to tell you he's a handsome guy, but I wouldn't want to tackle him. Saquon Barkley. Where's Saquon? But I offered him a ride on Air Force One because I was coming down. And usually they say, no, I don't think so. He said, I'll take it, sir. And he loved it, and we loved being together. He's a great young guy.
Eagle star running back Saquon Barkley took a lot of heat for his golf weekend and VIP ride on Air Force One with President Trump. But he brushed it off on social media, posting in part, "Maybe I just respect the office. Not a hard concept to understand. Just golfed with Obama not too long ago and look forward to finishing my round with Trump." Joining me now, contributing writer to The Atlantic and host of the podcast Jemele Hill is Unbothered. Jemele Hill. Also here is former NFL wide receiver Dante Stallworth. Glad to have both of you guys here today with me. Let me ask you about this, Dante, because Saquon is defending his outing with the president. Trump seems, frankly, more than flattered by all this. What do you make of it?
Start there.
That deep side.
Start
told
there.
it all.
Okay, that's his response.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I love Saquon. I think he's a great player, and you can't deny his talent. One of the things that bothered me the most was that he was one of the players that, back in 2020, when the NFL players were really going after the NFL for not standing up against the NFL and the president at the time, President Trump. He was one of the guys at the forefront saying racism and injustice cannot exist. And then he goes today, 5 years later, and he's golfing with Donald Trump. And one of the things that he said was that, it's not about politics, or leave politics out of it. One of the things I'm reminded of, there's a quote that's attributed to the Greek philosopher or the Greek politician Pericles, where he says, it's attributed to him, it's the similar words, paraphrasing. He says, you may not be interested in politics, but that doesn't mean politics won't be interested in you. And so as you see, they've used his tweet, the White House, they've posted his tweet, they've posted photos with him. He's essentially being used kind of as a propaganda tool to say, hey, look, Saquon Barkley likes us. Everyone else should like us because he is, number one, a black player in the NFL, and number two, he's a prominent African-American. At the same time, it's evident where he says that he just respects the office of the president. It's evident that Donald Trump doesn't respect the office of the president. He only respects the power that it wields.
So, Jemele, is there an unfair pressure and double standard being put on black players in the NFL to appear or not appear at events like this for the reasons he's talking about?
Oh, definitely. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that this administration has communicated so often about how they feel about black people in this country. At the same time, while he is with the president, you have this administration taking away precious artifacts from the National African American Museum here in Washington, D.C. You have them doing other things that show that they are more than willing to undermine black liberation in this country. And so if you're a black player, that automatically is going to put you at the crosshairs of politics. And so while I do think generally my position is with these White House invites, whether it be a Republican or a Democrat in office, we've seen players that didn't go when Obama was in office.
Jalen Hurts didn't go today.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts didn't go today either. But the thing is that I've always felt like it's up to the player to decide that. But once you make that decision, realize that people like you and I can be here on television to question whether or not or where it is you truly stand by standing and aligning yourself with somebody who, frankly, has really done a lot and has a very long history of completely disrespecting people who look like you. Because if you didn't play sports, if you were not a Super Bowl champion, if you were not Saquon Barkley, his reception of you would be a lot different.
So what does it say about the white players that attend then? Is the opposite also true then, that those who attend, who are not black, they are making a statement?
Yeah, I remember politics weren't really talked about in the NFL locker rooms, at least any of the NFL locker rooms that I was in up until 2008 when Obama was running against McCain. And that's kind of when things started to explode and people regularly began talking politics. There's a ton of players in the NFL who are outright Trump supporters. And as me and Jemele were talking about, out earlier, Trump has become more palatable for a number of reasons. And so that has allowed these players to kind of step out of the shadows or kind of step out and say, you know what, I'm okay with this. But there were a lot of players that also didn't show up, a lot of the star players that didn't show up, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and a lot of other players on defense as well. So there's still players that are going to make that stand, but the players that were there, they know what the conversation is going to be when you go to the White House.
And if I just may add this quickly, is Saquon Barkley was able to do that, and he was able to put out, hey, I did it because I respect the office. At the same time, while we saw several players, or at least the Eagles, they sort of massaged it as it was scheduling conflicts. I think those players that didn't come should have the same right to say why they didn't come and explain. I mean, they don't owe us an explanation, but if Jalen Hurts has political and social reasons why he didn't attend, I think it's fair that he be able to speak to whatever that is and what his concerns are about this administration.
Or, as some would say, not have to address anything at all. He played the game. He won the trophy. Next. Well, we'll see. Speaking of somebody who is aspiring to do that, I'm talking about University of Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders, who, as we know, did not go as early as he certainly wanted to. There's been a lot of statements that were made about why he was so low in the draft. People talked about attitude. They talked about, bravado, all sorts of things. Of course, we know who his father is, Hall of Famer and Colorado coach Deion Sanders. Why do you think he wasn't picked as high?
I think it's really layered. I think there's a number of issues that are at play here. The NFL doesn't have a great track record for a lot of things. One of the things, though, I will say is that the NFL is extremely tolerant for talent, right? So the more talent you have, the more tolerant they will be. And we see, you've had guys like Baker Mayfield, you've had guys like Johnny Manziel, Caleb Williams, who turned out to be #1 quarterback or top 5, top 10 pick, who had a number of concerns and issues from league officials. But these kids coming out of college were extremely, they were the kind of the outright #1 pick. And I don't think Shedeur Sanders had that kind of ability to say, hey, I'm the #1 guy, so I don't have to go to the combine and work out. I don't have to go to the Senior Bowl and work out. And I can kind of dictate to these teams what I want to do in my interviews. And that didn't go over too well with NFL owners. There's a Steve Keim, who is a longtime NFL official. He's the general manager of the Arizona Cardinals for like 20 years. He once said that if Hannibal Lecter ran a 4.4, he would be drafted in the first round. So the talent, and that's not to say that Shedeur is not talented. He is a top 2 round talent. But for him to drop all the way to the 5th, it lets you know that it's not on the field stuff. It's something off the field. Yeah. And he's going to have to account for that and go work hard. And in this position, he's actually got a chance to start or to at least to contribute to the team at some point this year or next season.
I mean, first of all, he quoted Pericles and mentioned Hannibal Lecter.
I know.
I mean, there's some respect. That's breath and growth, people. But Jemele, Stephen A. said a lot about Sanders, but he also tweeted out, quote, "This is Kaepernick all over again." What's your reaction?
My answer is no. That's my reaction. And I can't believe this is the #1 skeptic of the NFL. I'm somebody who many times Atlantic and in shows like this have talked about how this league has a lot of racist underpinnings. They, as you mentioned, they have a terrible track record. So I'm the last person to throw down the cape over the puddle for the NFL. But in this case, it wasn't about race. I think it had everything to do with the fact that they did not value Shedeur Sanders as a talent, as that kind of surefire, he's a lock as a first round or top 5 kind of guy. And again, in that draft process, that's an evaluation of who you are, your character, your football character, all those things. So if it's true, the reports that he was purposely tanking some interviews because he didn't want to go to those teams, showing up and doing other things with other teams, those kind of messages get out across the league, and they're going to reflect poorly on him. And so you can't, if they already think you're kind of a borderline talent, and then you add the extra stuff to it, it is going to greatly influence your draft stock. And no, we can't compare it to Colin Kaepernick. This is a man who lost his career when he already had been to a Super Bowl and done a lot as a quarterback, and then he had his career taken from him because of he made the mistake of actually standing up for black people.
Shedeur, prove him wrong, I guess. Jemele, Dante, thank you both. And thank you all for